Let's hope this is a bit more cooperative. I suppose it started when I saw a figure standing in the middle of the place. Okay.
Hold it!
So we can combine. Taking this figure was already standing there when you got close. Yes, I was just getting around the corner and saw them in the distance. I'm almost certain it was Mr. Ronos I'm looking at. Definitely a man. Well, there's nothing new, but the same issue I pointed out before remains. You weren't really supposed to see the victim just standing there. In fact, I don't see how that could even match up with the other testimonies. In those, the victim rushes at the defendant. What exactly did you see instead? I saw it. I saw the crime. They got decapitated. I panicked. Alright.
Hold it!
Alright, not ready to combine yet. This feels a little vague. Well, a plain man often gets to the point quickly. I'd like some details. Who decapitated him? That is... I presume it was the defendant, given the evidence. I wasn't asking about your opinion. What did you actually see? Right, my apologies. I couldn't say. I did not see the culprit. You didn't see them at all. Correct. I suppose it's possible to miss someone in that darkness, but that's still odd. After all, you could almost identify the victim, and Miss Porter managed to see two people. You should have been able to see something. My apologies, but I simply do not recall seeing anyone else. The shadows must have been hidden in them. Interesting. Another discrepancy with what Miss Porter saw. There has to be some explanation for all of these. I must have dropped the wine bottle. There was a shattering noise.
Hold it!
About that wine bottle. Why did you have that with you, anyway? Right, it's an odd item to break, isn't it? Wanted to drink beforehand to calm the nerves, but I just couldn't bring myself to risk my senses in the end. I'm afraid that explanation for why I took the bottle with me would not be so simple. It was required for my plan. It was meant to serve as fuel for the pressure cube. What? Pressure cube? It's the first time I've heard you mention something like that. It was something else I'd brought with me. Apologies. Pressure cube. It's a, well, I'm afraid I'll have to call it a weapon. Oh, is this for fighting the slicer? Huh, so you brought a weapon with you. And it's a cube? My apologies, but did you actually believe I had intended to fight a slicer barehanded? A plain man like me wouldn't stand a chance without some assistance. So, how does this cube work? That might require a slightly more elaborate explanation. That look. We've got time. Go ahead. What's this cube about, exactly? Oh, I'm glad you're interested. It's something I designed with my spell in mind. Anyone else, it's simply just a simple iron cube with a thin horizontal indentation on one side. Alright, let's doing it again. However, there is actually a small hollow space on the inside. I utilize this with my spell. I let a substance travel to the inside. In this case, I intended to use wine. I'll get back to why later. Make it so the substance can only travel only one way. It comes into contact with the material. I can effectively build up pressure on the inside. Hence I named it the pressure cube. Huh, interesting. What happens next? You release the pressure? Correct! I knew you'd figure it out. Placing a projectile inside the small indentation and then using my spell on the wall. All the pressure is released in that direction, shooting out at great speed. What kind of projectile do you fire this with? Well, this version uses sharp blades that are thin enough to fit in the indentation. It's ultimately not as powerful as a gun, but its advantage is that it's silent. Ah, when trying to find slicers, that is an advantage. Why the wine, though? Well, liquids are more silent than gas in this procedure, for one. I assumed using something with color would make it possible to see where the projectile went. But the required amount to create pressure in this chamber is so small that... well, it might have been a miscalculation on my part. Out there, it's much harder to see the faint traces than in a clean area. Still, it seemed the most convenient choice at the time. That is certainly one way to waste one's alcoholic beverages. Since you dropped the wine, I take it you never actually used this cube that night. Well, it was already loaded for one shot. I might have panicked and fired it on accident while running away. Oh, lovely. After such an event, you can't help but see a phantom behind every tree. But that wasn't at all at the crime scene, so it probably doesn't matter. Fair enough. So you took this cube back home with you then? Yeah, I worked hard on that invention. It fell out of my hands at the same time as the wine bottle. I couldn't leave it behind and quickly picked it up. Thanks for letting us know about this now. My apologies. This did not appear like a crucial detail compared to... You have done no wrong. Murder is more important than every last item you were carrying. Regardless of what the defense wants you to believe. Right, of course. Well, this cleared up one thing at least. There was this curious rectangular gap in the wine stain. So I figured you dropped or picked up something. Well, glad to have delivered clarity. So did anything else happen after that? Okay, gunshot. That was too much. Okay, this is the end of Maxwell's piece. So you didn't do or see anything else then? Well, not intentionally, anyway. I was in too much of a panic. All I really remember is running away. Witnessing that, running away in a town full of slicers. At that point, I was just too shaken. Anything like a hostile creature. All you could have met were technically haunters, so that it's a point. So that's all then. Yes, that should be all. This time. When I got back to safety, Miss Porter was already waiting for me. I didn't know what was happening to her, of course, but I was glad she made it back safely, too. It wasn't really that difficult for her, after all. No pity for me, I see. Classic. I guess now you want my side of the story. Fine, then. Alright, simple enough. And you're sure both of those were coming from Mr. Maxwell? When he had things to question, I'm sure about the scream. The bottle? Don't know. Didn't see it drop. But I did see it on the ground afterwards, so I'd say that's pretty certain, too. Just curious that you'd remember Mr. Maxwell's reaction so well. Even he didn't mention that he screamed. I probably did, didn't I? If you really saw a crime take place, I'd think you'd be more focused on that, Miss Porter. That's what you'd think? Well, I'd think you're reading way too much into it. So how about you? Think you screamed too? Not really.
Objection!
Oh, I believe you should focus on their description of the crime, not explore the feelings of the witnesses. Lie detector has it right. Whether I'm a cold person at heart isn't relevant. Fine. Can you tell me about the actual crime, then? When I took a closer look, I saw someone who looked like the victim run at the defendant. Okay.
Hold it!
So someone rushed at him. Coming from the right, I take it. Yes, it's still all pretty much as I've said before. And again, they did definitely look like the victim and the kid on trial. You seem more certain about the defendant, though. After all, you just said the defendant, then only someone who looked like the victim. Well, duh. The defendant is kinda hard to mistake with that small stature. The victim has a more average frame, but it still looked totally like his face. So yes, I'm certain I know who I saw. The story is still the same. Do I really need to repeat it? No. Should be fine. What happened next? Maxwell seemed to have run off. Okay.
Hold it!
How quickly was he gone? Really quickly? It's almost like he was the one who could teleport. And I take it that's when you left as well. What else would I have done after that? You might have stolen something from the scene. Nope. Is baseless accusations all that's left now? I know I wanted to get some neat things from that hideout that night, but I never did. Even if I did, it wouldn't compare to murder, right? Certainly not, although that wouldn't excuse it. Seeing how you are being truthful, however, we do not need to discuss this. Yeah, the victim was already dead by that point anyway. And we're here to figure out who's responsible for killing him. That's certainly not me. I get it. You seem to be enjoying this. I'm enjoying this because you're losing. That's kind of why I enjoy your company in general. Because you're a loser. Now I want to just get this over with too. Just finish your testimony, please. Sure. But I did what he told me to do and went to call the police. Ah, yes.
Hold it!
At least you were kind enough to tell them where the real crime scene is. Somehow I wouldn't have put it past you to send them east for no reason. This is no joke, Linus. Murder is a serious matter. We both know how seriously you take serious matters. I know it better than you. Sometimes I wonder what went wrong between you two. You haven't seen what I've seen. What do you mean sometimes? You were just introduced to her yesterday. It's... honestly. Anyway, just to be 100% sure here, when did you get back? Before Maxwell. Probably before all the others, too. I didn't walk, after all. So you don't know the exact time. The time was recorded. It was 12:13 a.m. So she was, unsurprisingly, the first to return to safe haven. True. Double-checking with the record puts her ahead of everyone else. And Maxwell himself stated that she was waiting him when he got back. Because there's no room for any doubt here. We've been over this before, haven't we? If you come up with a new technique, you gotta use it! Right. Been over the gist of their testimonies before. We need to go over our previous problems with them. We need to find something new. Something that might help explain why they seem to contradict each other. And other testimonies. Alright, let's determine if this cross-combination I came up with will help me with that. I know there's something off, I just have to make the issue more concrete via combination. And select what I consider the conflicting statements by pressing them. And finally point it out via cross-combination. Doesn't sound like I'm still doing the work of a lawyer here. Yeah. Okay, let's combine. Okay. So. Started when I saw a figure standing in the middle of the place. I get decapitated. I combine with previous. Can I clearly look at them standing in the middle of the place before they got decapitated? Decapitated. Drop the wine bottle after seeing the figure get decapitated. Interesting. Then a gunshot. The shattering noise, there was a gunshot. Ooh. Okay. So what did we learn from this? Saw a figure, saw a clear figure get decapitated. After he saw them get decapitated, he dropped the wine bottle. After the shattering noise, there was a gunshot. You heard him drop the bottle. After he saw the drop the bottle, he saw the victim. After Maxwell dropped the bottle, I witnessed what looked like the defendant committing the crime. Okay. Like the victim rushed the defendant. Max ran off. Okay, interesting. Maxwell ran off. And you visited the crime scene. I feel like there's the obvious. Okay, then I think... we select this. And then combine this again. Okay, now, since we selected our first statement, now we can cross-combine.
Objection!
We're just not getting anywhere with the two of you. What you just said contradicts one basic assumption of this case. Please explain, Mr. Sky. Of course, Your Honor. Basically, it might seem like they should be testifying about the same thing. But, I actually just implied that that was not the case. Mr. Maxwell, you said you dropped the bottle and caused a commotion in response to the crime. Miss Porter, you said you witnessed the crime in response to the bottle breaking. We know the decapitation was swift. It would only have taken an instant. If you only saw the crime after Mr. Maxwell dropped the bottle, then how did he see it before that? There's a contradiction in timing and cause and effect here. What in the world? That is inconceivable. Well, yeah, it would be. Mr. Maxwell witnessed the crime, dropped the bottle, and then Miss Porter witnessed the crime. This line of events is obviously flawed given our assumptions. There's only one way for this to still make sense. Mr. Maxwell witnessed a crime, caused a commotion, and ran away. And Miss Porter took a look and witnessed another crime. Both of them must have witnessed completely different events. How is that any sort of plausible explanation? First of all, weren't their witnesses close together most of the time? True. It's a pretty close time frame. But if you look at the diagram, you'll see that there was a corner just where they were coming from. If Miss Porter was behind that corner, she would not have been able to see the crime scene immediately. Well, was I still behind the corner? I was trailing behind a little, so yes, not bad. In other words, it were at least a few seconds before she could have seen something herself. That does not make it any less absurd. Why would there be two decapitations taking place in such rapid succession? One wasn't technically a decapitation. It happens to be the one Miss Porter saw. She also happened to be the only one who actually said she saw the defendant. The curious thing about Mr. Maxwell's statements is that he did not mention seeing the defendant once. In other words, she's our only eyewitness to the actual crime.
Objection!
Ooh. I'm certain you realize your explanation has a lot of holes. But I think the obvious question needs to be asked first. If Mr. Maxwell didn't actually witness our crime, what in the world did he witness? That's the question, isn't it? Whatever Mr. Maxwell witnessed is essential to this case. Miss Porter saw the defendant kill the victim. However, she saw him cut through the torso region. Mr. Maxwell, on the other hand, clearly used the word decapitation. It's likely the person Mr. Maxwell saw dying was the real Mr. Ronos. Whoever Miss Porter saw must have been a fake victim. What? Mr. Maxwell, you've been awfully vague about the whole event. The victim got decapitated. It's barely even a summer. My apologies. In fact, whenever it came to describing the killer, you just didn't say anything. Well, just what did you really see that night? I want the full story, and I want it from you. Are you hiding anything about what you saw from us? Say it. Tell us the truth. Ah! So it's come to this after all. Just wanted to forget. Just wanted to think it's a dream. Because, in fact, it's been haunting me. Miss Porter made me confident I must have been mistaken. Even the police seem to have the case under control. Oh, but I suppose I couldn't run from it. Not from them. It's time for the truth, then. My testimony won't be so plain after all. My apologies in advance. Everyone who is faint of heart should leave the room now. Just what did you see? He sure likes his build-up. Very well. I will no longer conceal it from you, as horrifying as the truth may be. Oh boy. The vampire's oh no. Everything I have revealed so far has naturally been accurate. I saw a figure in the middle of the place. It definitely resembled the victim, from what I could tell. However, I did not see anyone approach that silhouette. Not anyone visible, at least. And I am more certain that I might have made it sound before. There was nobody else. The victim was just standing there, seemingly frozen in place. Until he started moving in a direction. That direction was up. What? He slowly started floating into the air, almost as high as the top of the buildings. What? Then, when he came to a halt, his head was cut off cleanly, just like that, with seemingly no cause. He fell down somewhere to the left, while his body was flung rightwards. Oh Jesus! I didn't want to believe it. But it's the truth. The victim flew into the air, and got decapitated, all by himself. The vampire. It must have been the vampire's magic. Oh boy. In my many years as a prosecutor, I never heard such an inconceivably ridiculous story. I can think of no possible explanation for these events. There is something else I should mention. While running away, I think I saw them. A pale figure with blood dripping from their mouth. Oh boy! As if they just... another person's blood. What?! I believe it was just an illusion, me being scared by what I had just witnessed, but I remember it cleanly. I saw such a figure, those vicious eyes. How was this? Mr. Justice, is it your implication that everything in a witness's statement was truthful? I do not want to believe it, but it is. Are you certain of that? Truthful Melody is infallible. He is telling the truth. What? That story is true? So the vampire is real? Dark magic? No way! The prosecutor must be lying. The spell must be broken. Order! There is no reason for concern. Whenever there is such a thing as a vampire or not, reaching us here inside safe haven is impossible. Regardless, it is likely there has merely been a mistake. There is no mistake. We've seen how safe we really are in here 3 months ago. Who says something like that won't happen again? At any rate, this testimony does not even implicate the existence of anything that ominous. But, wasn't this clearly the vampire's magic? I did not see any other explanation. Besides, I clearly saw them. The pale figure that had just sucked blood. But, if you want further proof, I'm afraid I have it. What? There's more? I have already received a warning. A warning from the vampire himself. What's this now? Did he send you a letter? No. I'm afraid it's much more unsettling than that. Please, take a look at this. What? Are those bite marks on your neck? As you can see, he has already tasted my blood. I don't even recall when I was bitten, which makes it even more unsettling. Oh boy. Too hasty, Mr. Maxwell. Those must have been insect bites or something. Let's not get carried away here. You should really just embrace it, you know. Ray, not the time. As a man of science, I refuse to push for a theory like that. Even if I won this case with a theory like an evil vampire did it, it's just not worth it. If you're actually buying the story anyway. I know what I saw. It is all true. Stop lying! You look awfully fine for that being a lie, you know. He can't have genuinely seen this. This can't be happening. Now, let's not panic just because there's no apparent explanation. I agree with what the prosecution said a moment ago. There's another explanation here. No need for a vampire. You have a different explanation, Mr. Sky. I don't know, Your Honor. However, I know that the possibility still exists. There is a human for whom this might have still been possible. Finally, I don't think that person will be able to keep their secret any longer now. They got away easy last time. Now there's a good reason to be thorough. There's something very important we need to verify with someone right now. Before we truly know if this person was honest with us, we cannot conclude this was a vampire. We need to call her the witness, right? Remember this witness from before? Remember how I thought it was likely he was lying about his spell as well? Well, if his spell was something else, it might just have been possible. It might just have been possible to pull this off. There's no need for vampires. A human with the right spell might be able to pull it off, too. I'm afraid what you propose is impossible. After Desiree confirmed there were no traces of spell use on Mr. Aronos' body. If you assume that the victim Mr. Maxwell saw was our victim, it could not have been done with a spell. A spell that makes a person fly and then decapitates them would definitely leave some trace. I would consider that a reasonable assumption. Well, if you're fine with a vampire story, we don't have to ask him. Very clever manipulation. However, I suppose we should ask him. We need to cover all the possibilities. Well done, Linus. That proposition shall be accepted by us, then. Our previous witness is to be led back to a stand again. Guards, the doors are to be shut. Exit should not be allowed to anybody for the moment. The story shall be remaining inside this hall until it has been cleared up by us. Guess adding this fire to the rumors might just make them blow up. Now we just have to hope Talia doesn't just teleport away. Hello! I'm surprised, you know. 'Cause even I didn't think you'd be so sloppy to call me back when I was done. Well, you saw what happened. There's something we need to know for sure. Oh yeah? You should pay more attention. I know my rights. Can't force me to spill the beans on my spell. Did you forget? Because then I think you're not really cut out for this job. Well, you do realize the situation, don't you? It might be very important to know what you did. I think I used my spell that night. You're wrong. I still like to know just what it is. And I told you, why not just believe? I didn't use my spell that night. What's the point, man? Truth. If you don't tell us whether that's all there is that is to your spell, you'll look mighty suspicious. That's the problem then, ain't it? I already said it wasn't me. Of course you'd try to blame it on me. Same old. No, I won't talk. Can't make me. If you do, you gotta admit that you treat people unfairly. Mr. Sky, it is my fear that he is right. Well, a matter of great concern. There is no reason for a thought that this is directly linked to Mr. Cat's spell. A forcing of any additional information about his spell this is not permissible. I see, Your Honor. Well, that's fine. I already have enough to figure it out anyways. Yeah, what? Your spell. I know what it is, and why you refuse to tell us. You're bluffing. Rookie, that bluff was way too obvious. I mean, yeah. Even you think I am. All lawyers are. Well, good thing I'm not a lawyer. Hey. Well, I'll just lay it out for you then. Oh boy, thinking time. Oh shit! Deduction time. Deduction began with the most obvious clue about your spell. You stated it on record, so that information has to be correct. This gives us a pretty decent idea what your spell is truly about. I do of course mean its name, its location, its power, your name. Well, that's right, his spell is Unlimited Parting. The name of your spell is Unlimited Parting. You're willing to share that much. And Maxwell didn't when he told us his spell effect. This does not really match with your description of what the spell does, now does it? First word, Unlimited, suggests there's no limit to an amount of some kind. The second one, Parting, suggests the separation of something. We know for a fact you can freeze water in a glass somehow. Provided you touch it. Jeez. How do you make it freeze using some sort of parting? A separation. Simple, you just have to separate two things here to get frozen water. First thing is, oh, we're typing. I mean, separate heat from water? Let's try heat. Second thing is water. The simplest possible way to freeze water is to cool it. In other words, to reduce its heat. If you have the power to separate things, maybe you can split the heat from the water. It'd be quite a similar trick to the one Mr. Maxwell pulled. Made it so that the heat could only leave. We can dig deeper. Why exactly do you have to touch the glass? It's possible the limit is similar to Mr. Maxwell's, but let's not jump to conclusions. Your attitude yesterday gave me an interesting clue here, though. You got a problem with my attitude? I was tired yesterday, you know? Well, you were fairly cooperative until I mentioned a certain name. It made you go very defensive until you just closed the door on us. We know which name I mean. It was... Cat Linus Jack Mills. Oh yeah, we mentioned to the serial killer Jack that there was another Jack here. Jack? Yes, that was it. When I mentioned the name of the infamous criminal, he had a curious reaction. I'm sick of hearing that name. You guys stop comparing everything to him? It sounds like you've had some previous experience with people mentioning that name to you. Why would that be, I wonder? None of your goddamn business. Maybe not, but I have a hypothesis. For some reason, you're afraid of being compared to him. Has that happened before? You're making a lot of guesses. Jack was notorious for being able to kill people just by looking at them. What if your spell can, in theory, do something similar? It'd definitely lead to some judgment, or people being afraid of you. Except, even if you hadn't done anything, the fact that you could... You're saying Mr. Cat had a similar ability to that of the mass murderer. Well, assuming he can split things, he can probably split a human, probably even on sight, like Jack. You refuse to tell us your spell so far. Even with all that, would it be best to share to avoid suspicion? Then again, with this spell, you should probably be worried. So maybe what happened in Mr. Maxwell's story just now is exactly something you could do. You're making a lot of assumptions here. Cut it out already. Well, it's anything like Jack's spell. At least it seems like you have more control over it. Otherwise we'd all drop deads right now. Valid. Well, I will note that we would be perfectly safe within the palace regardless. Right. I've heard about that. There's someone that can prevent someone to die unnaturally working in the GF. Guessing the palace is permanently in their area of influence. The Great Guardian wouldn't allow strangers near him otherwise, for safety reasons. Anyway, to get back to the point, you have some choice at what you use your spell on. Except not quite. There still seems to be a limit. After all, you can only freeze the glass of water if you touch it. So I can explain why you have to touch the glass, but it could still split humans on view. Pretty obvious difference between splitting water from heat and splitting humans. Water isn't alive. There's a good one. Humans are a miserable little pile of secrets. What is a man? Were you about to say something? Never mind. Bad influences got the better of me. Do you know that line was originally stated by a vampire? Maybe you were the vampire, Linus. Plot twist. A mad scientist that genetically modified himself into an undead bioweapon. Sure. Now with that out of the way, back to the topic. Okay, you can't see heat. You can't see heat, but just looking at it doesn't really work. Well, that's not quite true. Normally spells can affect things that you know are there even if you can't see them. I'll probably combine heat with something with my spell. This does relate to your limit as well. It may not be so much about seeing or touching, but perceiving the thing in general. You might just need to perceive the objects you want to split up in some way. Like closing in on the restriction. You know nothing. It's nonsense. Still not enough? Oh, there's more. Next, your job. You are a delivery man, if I recall correctly. You said you could even transport a piano with ease. It struck me as weird how a single man could transport such a heavy object without help. It's not like we saw any equipment in front of your house. And your spell should not give you superhuman strength. However, there's still a way you could deliver such heavy objects. Just use your spell to turn it into lots of tiny objects and then carry those. Are you serious? Wouldn't the customers complain if he destroyed the piano? You're right, that's no good. But then it struck me. What if his spell isn't a permanent split? There's something quite similar with my spell. I can decide to undo the combination. Maybe this witness can choose to undo the separation. In other words, his spell might just be the exact opposite of my spell. I can split things, and also choose to undo the split. That's my answer. So that's what your spell can really do. Given the circumstantial evidence, I'm confident I'm at least close. Well, damn. You got that much from just a couple things like that? Well, combination happens to be my specialty. Being all smug about it, too. Fine, you're probably gonna go with this anyway. You win. You more or less figured me out there. That's exactly how my spell really works. Cut anything I can perceive in two, and also undo it if I want to. It should be obvious why I didn't want to share it with you, with this kind of crime. You would not have had anything to fear. After all, everything you have said so far has been truthful. Besides, the facts still hold. The detective found no traces of spell use on the body. Are you satisfied now, Mr. Sky? Yes. What? I'm actually surprised. But this did not really assist us at all, now did it? Knowing the witness's spell explains nothing about Mr. Maxwell's absurd account. Well, there's another reason I wanted this witness back on the stand. I think you should give us another testimony. What are you doing? Thought I was done here. You think this is funny? Interesting. What do you think the witness could help us with? Well, I don't know if he can, but it was the one that got the closest to the actual scene. If there was anything there that would help explain why Mr. Maxwell saw a flying man. Mr. Cat or the defendant might have seen it. Okay, listen. There isn't. Are you sure? I said listen. There's nothing, okay? Unlike some other people, I wanted to get this over with quickly. So unlike those guys, I didn't leave out half the stuff I saw. Got it? Okay. Given the new context after this revelation, maybe it's something important. You just can't actually take my word for it, can you? Nothing I could add. You really just need to accept that. But you follow these two people to see what they're up to, no? Now that we know your spell. At least it makes sense that you weren't really too afraid to look. Or were you? Are you saying that despite that, you didn't notice anything? Surely you didn't just run away immediately. I see what you're trying to pull here. Well, you're still the wrong one. Fine. If you really want your pointless testimony, you can have it. Looks like it worked anyway. Well done. Mr. Sky, I'm hoping you are putting forth your best effort towards a resolution of this. If this testimony will be proven to be a waste of time, matters shall be left to authorities. You better not be trying to cover this whole thing up, you hear me? I wouldn't be surprised if that kid turned out to be an accomplice of some vampire guy. That was a bloody mess I saw. It is acknowledged what is possible of acknowledgement. What? Not good. It's like things might still get tricky if I don't find anything new here. Excellent. The cards have finally been dealt. Yeah, I'm sure you're just enjoying this development. Of course. I, for one, welcome our new vampire overlords. Damn, I guess I can no longer count on your support then. No worries, I'll still provide you with high-quality hidden coins. I shall assist both sides. My motives are complex. They're really not, even if you say it. Especially if you have to say it. Oh, Ray. A place full of empty fears. Look, this was way too threatening for me to stick around and take a good look. As soon as I got in a glance at the kid, I bailed out of there the way I came. On the way out of there, I noticed absolutely nothing fishy either. And that's it. Nothing to add. You happy now? Well, that was shorter than I hoped. Just as I've been saying, that's what you get for not listening to me, man. Well, I suppose the defense may go ahead and cross-examine the witness. If nothing of significance is found, we'll proceed to look into this on our own after the verdict. So you need to find something new? Seems reasonable enough. How do I find something in this? Well, I should just try and dig a little deeper, I guess. Oh, this felt way too... Yeah, okay. Oh, we can combine. Felt threatening? How so? Just got a mighty bad feeling all of a sudden. This isn't really telling us much. You blaming me? You dragged me back here even though I said everything already. Look, this ain't getting us nowhere. If you think I can give input on something else, you gotta ask me straight. Clear-cut questions, clear-cut answer. The world ain't always so complicated. Point, I guess. I'll ask. But what exactly am I supposed to ask here? Well, he said here, he's got a mighty bad feeling all of a sudden, so I guess I could just ask him when, where, why. Why exactly did you suddenly feel that way? I mean, you had no problem following them outside town, fully expecting something to happen. It was a little strange that you suddenly had this ominous feeling. Look, I felt uneasy before, but this was something else. It's like my very life was being threatened all of a sudden. It sent an unbelievably cold shiver down my spine. There was something there, something unnatural. You're not just saying that because of what Mr. Maxwood is. Just asserted, I hope. Well, something like a vampire would explain it if you ask me. Must have entered the awakened vampire's evil aura. Thesis noted. You better believe me. This wasn't just me being scared for no reason. The cold shiver was real, man. Instincts screamed to get the hell out of there. End up taking a look anyway, against their better judgment. Who knows? Maybe I'm lucky to be I'm standing here today. This would not have been an occurrence without your decision of leaving Safe Haven. You stay out of this. I know you're doing pretty well by hiding in this palace, but we? Nothing had to be done, you hear me? I had to follow them. Was any of this even helpful? I'm gonna say no. No, I don't think this is important enough. Okay. I mean, we could combine. Oh? What are you doing? What just happened? Oh! You know, I really just want to get this over with and get back to the real problems. So you're messing with my testimony. I'd appreciate it if you didn't do that. He broke up the statement I combined. Well, guess I can't rely on my special technique here. I'll just counter it with his spell. No need to give up, though. Just have to do it the old-fashioned way. Oh, that was clever! That was really clever.
Hold it!
You only got a good look after you followed him into the house, right? Yeah, but I really only got to the doorstep. Don't ask me about what else happens in the house. Got no idea. Considering the lights were on, you might have seen something. Nah, just the kid dropping the weapon, really. And now that you mention it, think there was some guy in a chair? I didn't really focus on that. If there was another guy, I don't think he was alive. You are correct. What you saw was a dead corpse. Well, I was really just focused on that bloody kid, so I can't tell you more about that. There's nothing else then. Nope. Didn't waste more time than needed there. As soon as I saw the face, I figured it was time to get the hell out of there.
Hold it!
You got out the same way you came in. You came, then. Of course. Not like I got a map for those damn ruins. I didn't want to risk getting lost, so I went back the same way. Maxwell? Mr. Maxwell? Why are you stepping forward? Ah, my apologies. I don't mean to interrupt, however. I just thought something was strange about what the witness said. And the implication of it might be able to put us all at some ease, after all. What did you find strange? Well, it's like this. I've thought it over, looking at the diagram. I think if Mr. Cat ran back the way he came, he would have gone past that corner in the upper left. Sure, but where's the strange part? Well, you probably remember what I said I saw after running away from the crime scene. That unsettling creature I saw in the night. I mean, the vampire. I'm pretty sure we all remember that. Well, I'm pretty sure I saw it standing right at that corner. Oh, what? So, if you didn't run into it, I must have probably been mistaken after all, right? Probably. Did you add this to the testimony, Mr. Maxwell? Hey, what? Is this supposed to be my testimony? It is currently paramount that we make sense of what Mr. Maxwell saw. This is the most efficient way to keep this new piece of information in mind. My humblest apologies, Mr. Cat. A plain man like me did not intend to interfere, but... it's probably faster than having to sit through one of your fake testimonies after this again. Seriously, what was up with the long-winded introduction in that one, man? Apologies if my plainness has caused you boredom. Just add your statement already. Naturally. Then, if I may. You should have seen the vampire at that corner. That I saw as well. Oops, I want to check the diagram. Well...
Hold it!
To be fair, what he witnessed would have happened a couple seconds after. So when you were getting away, he would have still been on his way to the crime scene. Oh, well, I did lose some time picking up my pressure cube. And I also tripped and fell on my face a few times. Oh, thank God. A few times. Well, at least thrice. Maybe 4 times. There. That's, like, clumsier than maids. It's a little embarrassing, but I wasn't really paying attention to the ground. Just wanted to get away from the crime scene as quickly as possible. Fair point. Guess that means you could have been still near... You could have still been near enough for this observation to be relevant. Which could mean you didn't really see anything because the witness didn't. I hope so. Please just tell me I imagined it all. Still, this is a little curious. You see this vampire at that corner or not? No, exploring that, there might be another question I need to ask myself first. My great-grandma used to say that history is an illusion. On a social level, those with power can very much determine it entirely. On a hashtag biological level, these are no more than memories you can access with your brain, their origin unknown. On a psychological level, it's merely an invention of transient minds, meant to give the comforting illusion of potential immortality. So, is any of this meant to amount to something regarding the testimony? It's up to you to figure that out, champ. That's how cryptic hints work. That's not how cryptic hints work. Can't have anything practical to say. Well, if you want to be like that, here's my professional assessment. You got barely any clue about the dealings here. Best to keep pressing for a bit. Once you got them to spill the beans, go for the kill. And press some more. Did I mention you should keep pressing hashtag before you attack? Yes. Thanks for this absolutely useful hint. Guessing you should focus on trying to figure out details about the vampire or the magic murder. Agreed, Ray. If you can't make progress with either of those, they'll just shut down everything. Well, obviously I need to try and make sense of these new findings. If I don't, they'll just finish the case with the confession they have. Then panic about this vampire sighting. Okay, starting over. I wonder how Maxwell saw it. Where he put it in that corner. Is this it? Yeah. Mr. Maxwell, I can't believe I'm taking issue with your statement here. My apologies. Maybe I should have never spoken up. No, this is pretty important. Anything, you should have been clearer on this sooner. Anyway, take a look at the layout of this scene again. As we know, Mr. Maxwell and Mr. Porter looked at the scene from the street at the bottom. Everyone else got to the scene via the notorious corner in the upper left. Now, if you really wanted to get away from the scene as quickly as possible, how exactly could you even have seen your vampire at that corner? The only way to would have been right there. The only way there would have been right through the crime scene. Which made it pretty clear that you would not have approached that place. You make a good point. Oh dear. Oh dear. There might be something I forgot to mention, of course. Again? My apologies. It's something to do with my spells, so... For a self-proclaimed plain man, you are keeping an unusual amount of secrets. Your spell? Let me guess. You do not necessarily use the street to escape. Ah. Of course you would have reasoned it out already. Yes, I figured the safest option was to put a wall between me and that phenomenon. Ah. So I walked through the walls on the left side of the street, through the houses. Ha-ha. I see. This would explain those rectangular spell traces Mr. Desiree found on several walls. As far as I was informed, they appeared quite door-shaped. Yes, those were probably traces of the path I took. I just panicked and went through all of the houses until I reached the next larger street. Of course, it was dark and I stumbled over a lot of rubble and old furniture. Well, I guess it ended up not really being the fastest way to escape. Still, eventually I made it to the other side and saw what I saw. Guess that's a valid explanation for how you saw that corner. Still, you sure you're not forgetting something else about this? No, I panicked and ran away, that's all. One moment, Mr. Maxwell. That now. That was a lie, wasn't it? Just in for the feeling. It's not a heavy one. You're actually not absolutely certain if that was all. I'm not sure. Right, my apologies. I am fairly certain that this should be all that happened, but... seeing how I was in such a panicked state, I could not swear to it. In that case, you should add it to your testimony. Yeah, thanks for calling me for the stand when you don't even want my statements. Oh, your statements were fine. They proved conducive in bringing out this information. Sure, man. Yeah, clearly just taking whatever you can get now. Okay. Mr. Maxwell will add his statement and the defense can resume their cross-examination. Time will tell whether the defense can do something with this new piece of information. Still all up to me? Well, I prefer conducting experiments myself anyway. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Escape through the walls. Hold it. Narrator voice. It was not, in fact, all. As the prosecution seems to have noticed, you're not really sure if that's all. That might be so. However, what else could I possibly have done? As I saw that creature with pale skin and blood dripping from its mouth, well, my apologies. It really did not help my mental state at the time. Since I'm alive and well, he presumably ran away. Nothing else would have been logical. Is that really true? Is there anything else he might have done when quartered like that? There might be some shots in the dark I could take here. Are they worth the risk? Did something else? Saw something else? Never mind. Art. Oh boy. Well, we just found a big whopper. Razor fragment. Found on a large street to the left of the crime scene. Look at this again. Maybe you did something else. I don't buy it yet. The fact that you seem unsure about it is just too fishy. Chances are you have a pretty good idea of what you did. I just don't want to mention it again for some reason. Can't you give a plain man like me any break? My apologies, this is already way over my average daily stress tolerance levels. A healthy dose of stress has often proven to be helpful. You don't understand. What if he'll come after me? Who? The vampire? I already admitted I saw him. Maybe that's reason enough to silence me. I'm just a plain man, so likely wouldn't have any second thoughts. I suppose I can't stop you from not saying anything. Neither can you stop me from revealing what else you did. No, please, I'm just a plain man. Don't say it. Mr. Maxwell was in a very panicked state. He just saw a man seemingly decapitated via magical means. Then he came face to face with a culprit that looked like a vampire, and just turned around and ran. I doubt this. There was something else he might have tried. This piece of evidence suggests that something else happened before he ran. The razor fragment. Something you filled us in on earlier, Mr. Maxwell. The pressure cube.